So one of the things that is powerful and can make all of that, what I just said, a little difficult is what's called in Chinese medicine the disruptive forces. And these are literally environmental forces that bring disruption to the energy systems of the body. And wind is the main disruptive force. Welcome to the world of energy, where science meets spirit. Ancient wisdom merges with cutting-edge knowledge, and the possibilities for a healthier, happier you are endless. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a solo episode of Energy Works. Lauren here today with you as the winds of spring are pouring through. Spring is here, and it has the craziest weather of all the seasons. It's like hailing one second and sunny the next, and then raining and snowing and blowing and muddy. I guess that comes from the rain, and then the sun will come out. It's just got a little bit of everything. And being creatures, us humans, of the animal nature, we are very affected by the environment that we live in and by the seasons that pass through. We are seasonal beings. And so the spring comes, and one of the things that arises is this kind of joy, almost breaking through the chrysalis of this, at the end of winter where everyone's been inside a lot, or for those of us that spend a lot of time outside in the winter, it hasn't been a great winter. We haven't had a lot of snow out in the West. And so it hasn't felt that rejuvenativeness that can come from having a very playful season. But it also feels like it hasn't even had that really internal hibernation quality of it. But spring is this sort of bursting forth. And you see that with the flowers that burst forth and the mud that bursts forth from the frozen ground that is finally unfreezing. It's a time of massive change and growth. And that exists for us too in our lives. And so winter is a time where we kind of go within mentally and emotionally and a little spiritually as well. We go within and kind of dive deep and do a cataloging of how was the past year and what does the new year bring for me. And, people do that in the winter, right around the change into the new year of like, this is what I'm going to make happen this year. These are my resolutions. This is, all of that. And then we get to spring and it's like, now you kind of catalog and look back on that and see, am I following through with those things that I wrote down in my journal that I want to create? Am I on that path? And spring is the time where you kind of reboot and renew your commitments to the year. And, it's a little early for gardening, although some of you that have greenhouses or do starts on the countertop, you're probably well into your gardening. But I like to think about it as if you do garden and you plant a bunch of things and then you cull, you sort of take the ones out that aren't going to grow as strong and big and give room and space to the big ideas, to the big things that are going to manifest. And so that's a little bit of what's going on this time of year. It's like, check back in with what you wrote down as your resolutions. And is this still what I want to have happen? Am I still pursuing it with as much vigor? If I'm not, why? Like, this is a time to be like, you know what? I don't want a whole garden bed of zucchini. This is a really good time to cull your zucchini. Do not be leaving zucchini on my doorstep. I'm letting you all know that. That used to be a thing in Vermont. People would leave like boxes of zucchini because they didn't cull and they planted way too much of one thing. And then, they never had enough pesto or basil for their pesto. That's always, if you're welcome to leave as many bags of basil on my doorstep as you want. Pesto all day long. Zucchini, not so much. So this is the time of year when you're sort of doing that in your own world. Like, I want to do this job bigger, better. I want to do that a little less. I want to do this creative project. I want to, really work on these relationships or this aspect of, so this is the time for doing that. So one of the things that is powerful and can make all of that, what I just said, a little difficult is what's called in Chinese medicine the disruptive forces. And these are literally environmental forces that bring disruption to the energy systems of the body. And wind is the main disruptive force. It's so big that the other disruptive forces, which are heat, damp, dry, and cold, all piggyback onto wind for their delivery system. So wind is the big overarching disruptive force. And if you're a person that likes the wind element, then you're in a strong group of people, but also in a little bit of a minority group. You're the kite sailors, the windsurfers, people that use the wind to play or to travel with. And I might just be speaking personally because for me, wind is the element that I like the least. One of the reasons is because it is so disruptive to anything else that I might be doing. But what's so interesting as well, when I started to learn more of Chinese medicine, is how disruptive it is energetically, not just like, oh, the wind is blowing around all the sand on the beach, and so it's not so fun to be out there on a windy day because it's getting in my eyes. Or, oh, the chairlift isn't running on the mountain today because the winds are so strong that they can't actually run the chairlift. Or the turbulence in the sky because of all the wind is making this plane ride really uncomfortable. So like these are the things that the wind does in the outer world, but in the inner world, it can wreak havoc in your energy systems, leading to all kinds of things, pain, nausea. Let me see. I'll look at my list of all the things so I can give you a list of all the, oh, here they are. Oh, how wonderful. Tingling, numbness, joint pain, spasms, skin eruptions, stomach aches, nausea, faintness, dizzy, fever, mood swings, or sudden, unexplained anxiety, grief, or depression. I really appreciate that last one. Sudden, unexplained anxiety, grief, or depression. Because I feel like I have just been on that. I have to read that out loud again. I've been on the sudden, unexplained anxiety, grief, or depression bandwagon, and it's not that fun. So this is what happens when the disruptive force of wind gets into the system. And the other thing that happens that is why it is able to do all of those disruptive things to your energy systems is because it really puts a wrench in the energy system of triple warmer, which is that system that keeps your habits with you. It's that system that protects you. It's really the system, its base job is to keep you alive. It's the system that protects you from, well, literally, actually, it protects you from the external forces, whether they be physical, like somebody coming at you, or mental, somebody like, or some things out, like thoughts or ideas that really feel like they're not in alignment with who you are and what you want to be doing. Triple warmer is the energy system that really protects you from external forces. But when this external wind force gets through your field, starting with the aura, which is where these forces start to enter in, holes and tears or disruptions in the auric field, allows this disruptive force of wind to get into the system and wreak its havoc. And that's not good. And then it allows all the other disruptive forces in. Now, the good thing is there's this also idea of the winds of change, right? The only constant is change. And so the winds of change, it's like blowing through, like out with the old, in with the new, clearing out the dust that's just been sitting there all winter long, right? So there is a beneficial force of wind as well. And so we want wind to be able to, first of all, just as any element, just to be itself, right? Like we don't need to change the wind or make it do anything other than it does, but we want to make sure that we are regulated so that the winds can blow through, bring the change that it needs to bring, but doesn't blow us so off our center or so out of our balance that we get all of those issues that I read. I got to do that one again. Sudden, unexplained anxiety, grief, or depression. I don't know why that makes me laugh so much because it's just so bold and brutal and kind of true in a lot of ways for a lot of people, especially this time of year, because this time of year, the springtime, is also the season where that wind, that disruptive wind force, is most at home. In other words, it's ruled by this time of year. And so all of that emotionality, all of those physicality issues, all of that, this is the season for it. And the wind is ready to blow out all of that like stagnant, static stillness of winter and bring about the big changes. So on the one hand, yay for change. And yay for cleaning. This is the time of spring cleaning, like yay for all of that. And how do we keep ourselves from just being just blown away? Okay, I have some thoughts on that. One of the places on the body, on the head specifically, that I do these head holds, I used to work this point all the time before I even knew that this was the main wind point entry into the body. And in Chinese medicine, it's called the shielding wind, this point, because it allows you to increase your protection from these disruptive forces. And the point, I'm just going to slide my earmuffs off my ears a little bit if you're watching, but if you're listening, I'm going to explain really specifically where it is. So the lobe of your ear, if you bring a finger right behind the earlobe, and right up against the skull, I'm going to turn my head and you can see it if you're looking on video. It's right in that little hollow that gets bigger when you open your jaw up. So if you're just listening and not watching, slide your finger behind the earlobe, bring it snug up against your skull, and then open your mouth wide. And you'll feel it's the joint, it's the mandible joint. And so it opens up when you open your mouth up wide and you open up that joint, and then your finger kind of just drops into that. It's a big gap. It's not inconsequential. It's quite large. And then if you open and close your mouth a couple times, I'm doing that right now for those of you just listening, you can feel your finger is like in that gap. It's like open and then pinching that gap closed when you close that joint. That is the location. It's called triple warmer 17. The shielding wind. So what I like to do is get both of those points. So I've got one finger behind each ear in those points, and then deep massage, deep pressure massage. You can just go in massage. You can do little figure eights. You can do little circles. But that is such a beautiful point to massage, and then to just hold. And if you want to get a little extra, y'all know I'm all about the vagus nerve toning and resetting. You can have the heels of your hand come together under your jaw so that your hands are kind of laid against the neck. Here's one last thing. You know, I like to hum, and you just hum a note. So you're getting kind of a triple there, like a little reset for everything, as well as it's like clearing off those screens so that when the wind blows through, it's not just blowing dust around and creating chaos, but it's actually helping clear stagnancy in the body. So it's a really powerful one. There's a couple of other points at the back of the head. So let's see if I can turn around. You won't be able to hear me, but I'm going to show you if you're watching. And if you're not watching, but you're listening, you're going to slide your hand up the spinal cord I feel like you can't hear me when I'm doing that. I'm going to say it first. You're going to slide your hand up the spinal cord till you're at the very base of the skull. And at that point, there's a hollow. It feels like your fingers kind of dropping in. And that point is right at the base. It's on the governing meridian, and it's called the wind palace. And then if you separate your fingers and go over those ropey tendons, you kind of drop into two more hollows. So all of this is at the base of the skull. This is where the wind enters, the base of the skull. So pretty much, those 2 points over the ropey hollows there, those are called the wind pools, okay? So you've got the palace and the pools and the shields, and they're all along the occiput, which is the bone at the base of the skull. So from starting behind the ears, going all the way until your fingers will meet at the very base of the skull, very top of the spinal cord, all of those deep points that your fingers fall into are wind points. So another thing that you can do, you can lie back with your thumbs behind those points on your ears, and then your fingers holding or massaging either of those two other sets of points that I mentioned. And that's something that I do often. I'll lie in bed and I'll hold all of those wind points. And if you hold them for a while, you'll start to feel a pulsation and a synchronization of that pulsing, which is kind of getting all of those points to communicate together. And the communication that you're giving them by your calm and deep touch and the pressure that you're giving to the skull there is letting your body know it's okay. There's nothing going wrong here. We've got this. Everything can just calm down. You are resilient and strong, and the winds can pass through the clean screens of your house and bring the much needed change to your life. And even if it's not much needed, it's happening anyway. Every moment is bringing change. And so to allow yourself to metabolize that and not resist it is one of the hallmarks of a balanced nervous system. So hopefully you'll try holding some of these points. Drop down in any of the message points that you have, depending on where you're listening, and let us know if this all made sense, or if you're like, I'm not sure where those points are, could you let me know? And for those of you that like to look things up, the ones behind the ears are Triple Warmer 17. I often go to yinyanghouse.com if I want to find out exactly where a specific acupressure point is. So Triple Warmer 17, the shielding wind. The wind pool is Gallbladder 20, and the wind palace is governing 16. So you could look those points up if you want to know exactly where they are. And if you're okay just knowing that you're near them and on them and still affecting them, do some massage on the base of your skull from the jawbone all the way to the back of the occiput there. And it feels so good. Did I mention that part of it too? It feels really good, really nourishing, and really clearing. So I hope you check that out. Let me know what you think, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time on another episode of Energy Works.
Alrighty, Energy fans, that's a wrap on another positively charged episode of Energy Works. Lauren, this is the part where we get to use our energy puns.
It's been electrifying, hasn't it, Blaine? We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have.
If you're feeling amped up and you want to keep your energy flowing, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform.
And we'd love to hear from you, so please take a moment to leave us a review. Your feedback helps us continue to deliver content that resonates, so light up our inbox.
And spark a conversation with your friends to tell them about us. And we'll see you next time on Energy Works.